Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind. Let's watch.
This big buff guy walk up. He see me holding your hand. And he like, I want you. And I'm like, don't you see I got a man? In that moment, I could be feeling the need to be protected. In that situation, how would you react?
I'm not going to feed into it.
Interesting. I don't think we've seen this on the show, that there would be a question of this sort. She is saying, if we were in a club and we're holding hands, meaning visually we're clearly together, some other guy walks up to me, grabs him by the arm, I think she said, and says, I want you. And I can't imagine that happening. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I mean, things like that happen for sure, but in that way would be unusual. But anyway, so she's asking, what do you do? Yeah, and this is great, because then you can have that understanding so that you not only know what one would do in a situation like that, but also it kind of says something about the way you see each other. If he saw her as a possession and as weak and as not able to speak for herself, or if he was threatened due to toxic masculinity, then he would say, oh, we would throw down. Now, there's various different options here within the healthy range that can be quite different. If I was at a club, well, it kind of depends on the club, honestly, because there's some real D-bag clubs that, you sort of go in at your own peril to some extent. But if I was in a regular club that wasn't like that, I'm holding my wife's hand and some guy walks up to her, grabs her by the arm and says, I want you, I would assume the guy is delusional. Be like, here's my card. Because are you okay? Like, what's going on, pal? But honestly, in the moment, I would probably take a swing, which isn't good, but that's pretty aggressive. I mean, grab her arm. I would wonder if he was gonna like try to hurt her or something. But I think at my best, I would do what he's saying, which is I'm just not going to play into it. And I think that's usually, and my wife definitely wants me to do that. She does not want me to punch someone. She would like me to do whatever is necessary for us to extract the situation and not have to defend my masculinity of any sort. So I'm guessing Calibria will be happy to hear this from him.
I could be feeling the need to be protected. In that situation, how would you react?
I'm not going to feed into it.
But like he's like in my face, like won't move.
All right, we can just walk away, baby, come on.
I'm trying to walk, he grabbed my arm.
Oh, baby, come on. Just.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, like I said, there's various different acceptable, I guess, healthy way, because you have to ask, what's the goal, right? Is the goal to be able to walk away unscathed? Because if things come to blows, there can be permanent injury. You can also go to prison. Innocent people could be hurt, just people standing, especially in a club, right? So it's usually best just to not get into the whole masculine toxic thing and just say, hey, come with me, and just do what you can, react, right? If he's continuing to paw at her, then, at some point, the two of you should probably start, hey, pal, like, get your hands off. But it kind of sounds like she doesn't like this response from him, which I wonder what response she was hoping for. Which, like I said, if she was hoping for something like, well, I wouldn't throw down, but I would step up to him and say, what are you doing? But I wouldn't want to get into a fight because bad things can happen and I don't want to be charged. I would do X, Y, and Z, but I wouldn't go this far. And maybe she would hope for that. I don't know, but let's see what happens.
Follow me, let's walk.
He grabbed my arm.
I know, then we gotta get like security because like he tripping. Cause I can't, like, you need witnesses in the world. I ain't gonna cause no problems. I ain't gonna talk to that
He
man.
grabbed me. This man that don't know me, he grabbed me, your wife. And you got no reaction.
Yeah, wow. Okay, it's good they're having this conversation. But yeah,
So you know that when we leave, I'm gonna be angry with you.
Oh my goodness. But I'm like, babe.
Yeah, what? Now, it's an absurd situation. Now, could there be a plausible scenario where a guy approaches her as she's going to the bathroom when she's not around. I mean, to be or they don't see the two of them holding hands or something. Or there's some total D-bag that just walks up and says like, I know you got, this shorty, I can take him. You should be with me, or, totally. But grabbing her the way that she's suggesting, that's, and that even after he's saying, well, come on, baby, let's get away from this guy. And that the guy is continuing to grab at her. I mean, it's a pretty stark scenario. Do things like that happen? Yeah, they do. But it's not the most likely scenario anyway. But he has a policy of like de-escalation, which is the smart move and the non-toxic masculine move. And she is saying, if you do that to me, I'm going to be angry at you. Okay, so if I were there, I would say, what would you hope? What's the hope? Because maybe what she hopes is just a little bit more or something. And a little bit, because the reason why they even got in this conversation is because she wants protection. I think emotion. I think that's really what she's talking about. Because they were having a conversation about independence versus protection versus her in the past always being independent, but now she wants a guy who is more there for her, more concerned about her. He was saying, well, I want to respect your independence. And she was saying, I don't want to be independent anymore. I don't want to be that independent anymore. So I think emotionally, and in all likelihood, she doesn't really care about this scenario in a club for him to take a swing. I imagine what she's really concerned in this moment is, I don't know if our vibe is really working because of their vibe, right? Up until this point, meeting in person. And so I think that's probably what she's getting at. And what I think she is hoping for emotionally is for him to say, look, I want to protect you. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do in a scenario, but I want you to feel protected. I'm keeping my eye out for things. And if that means that you want me to step up to someone, then yeah, I'll case by case basis for sure. I'm not going to let anyone hurt you. I don't want you to be hurt. I'm going to get real upset about that, and I'm not going to tiptoe around that. Maybe something like that, and then he can say, but in a scenario, I'm not going to just start throwing punches because some guy's being a D-bag at a club, because I've been there before, and that doesn't usually end well, and that's not really me. But what she's looking for right now is someone to tell her that they care and that they are concerned, and that they, it's sort of like a more common question along these lines is, let's say I collapse in public, or I break my leg, or I'm sick and I can't leave bed because I'm so sick. Will you be there for me? I think maybe that's what she's asking about, right? Like, do you care? Are you concerned? Do you consider yourself your brother's keeper, so to speak, Because not everyone, and there's various different styles, and I guess we can use this as a jumping off point. You can think for yourself in terms of, with you and your partner, do you have the same wish there? For some couples, they want a lot of involvement and a lot, like everything that they do, they want the other person to know, they want the other person to take care of them. And that's great if everything is working well. Other couples, they are more independent. And if they get sick, they don't really emotionally need other people to be right there and to cater and to bring them stuff, unless it's really necessary. Anyway, so I think that's what she's talking about. Or she has a bad experience in the past where some guy like just completely dropped the ball and like dropped her hand and walked out of the club and said like, well, you can have her. I don't know.
You're supposed to be my protector, and you don't even try to say nothing to him. You don't try to move his hand. You're like, security.
I'll be the pussy or whatever. I just don't want no problem.
Yeah, the world needs more of that. I've had this conversation with myself of, because this is a central feature of toxic masculinity, to be a pussy. Because when that word or that thought or that's out there, it cuts to the core of your worth as not only a man, but as a human being, that if you're going to be a pussy, then you're worthless. And I hope she's not saying that he's worthless as a husband if he's seen as a pussy, because it's all seen. That's the thing that I really had to drill into my head. It's like, if someone's, if I was in that scenario and people are like, oh, you're a pussy, or even if Calibria was calling me a pussy, I would say to myself, I know I'm not what does that even mean? But I know I'm not a pussy, and it takes a lot of strength to know the right thing to do. If we just call security and extract ourselves, the worst thing that can happen is that people will think of me as a pussy. But the best thing that'll happen is that there's no police, there's no injury, there's no beef, there's no other guys coming after me, right? There's no death. Because you punch someone, they hit their head, they can die. That kind of. There's no broken bones. There's no getting kicked out of the club because we're involved in we just get to quietly walk away, right? And so he is communicating something that I think he's thought a lot about, because I think I actually know this, that every man, at least in my neck of the woods, in my culture, has to think about. Meaning my culture, meaning, I don't know, mainstream American male culture. And this is the way that all men should be answering this question. There's a range there, right? Like I said, he's at one end of that range, so to speak, but you could still be within the non-toxic masculine mindset and still do a little bit more toward this hypothetical guy that isn't necessarily buying into the notion that you have to, because if we do the exaggeratory toxic masculine thing, then we would say that, and this is always from men that are insecure, or they're being required, or maybe the ways they were raised, or I don't know. But for whatever reason, the other end of the spectrum would be that Edmund would immediately just get in the guy's face and say, like, fuck you, and you think, and get violent, or like right away, or and even if the guy's down, like break his arm, or I don't know, that, or pull out a gun. I don't know, whatever. So that is, in the movies, it often works out fine. You knock a guy out and he's humiliated and walks away with a bloody lip. But in reality, really horrible things can happen. Like I said, you might not win the fight. People can die. You could injure your back and be in pain for the rest of your life. You could be charged with a crime. You could create beef, and the person could come back at you, figure out where you live, and harm your mom, or things fucking happen with this sort of thing, right? And gun will come out, someone will get shot. It happens all the time. So we don't want that, right? I'm sure I don't have to tell you anything.
I'm really nice.
You would see it. You would see him grab me. It's just like, let's say this man is your size. Let's get the buffiness out. He's your size. You still not gonna get this man hand off me.
He could be in a wheelchair.
And you still not gonna get this man hand off me.
I'm not gonna place my hands on no man. That's not like a handshake or a hug.
Yeah, so this gets at what I would personally consider to be non-toxic options. Putting hands on, if someone's grabbing her, I would expect my wife to also defend herself. She's not going to just stand there and wait for men to work it out, right? My wife's going to defend herself. And if I saw, it's hard to know what you do in a moment like that because things happen very quickly. But yeah, I probably couldn't help myself but, do something just without even thinking, right? Just sort of push or something. And you could still be non-toxic with some of those options, in my opinion, especially the way she's kind of describing it. But I think I think it might help if he were to say, well, yeah, if it's extreme, then yeah, I'd put hands on. But generally speaking, if there's some kind of thing like that, more typical kinds of things that might happen in a club, I'm not gonna worry about being called a pussy by someone, If someone just whistles at you and then calls me a pussy, I'm not gonna fight someone, because you get involved in that and that's all you're doing all day long. And I'm just not gonna play that game. So I think, because I think she's asking a different question. I think she's now at the point, because she's narrowed the scenario, she's really said, so someone that you can actually take, someone that is smaller than you, and they're grabbing at me violently, and you're just going to call security, like you're not even going to try. I think they're kind of talking about different things.
But I just know, like, I'm pretty great to where whoever that man is, he's not on my level.
Yeah, I think that he has thought about the typical scenarios and dealt with them, probably, because we all do. And that's his general policy. And he's trying to get out ahead of that. But I think she's actually kind of talking about a narrower situation. And again, I think she's asking a different question. I think she's asking of, do you love me with such intensity, and do you care about me with such intensity that you would want someone not to hurt me? If someone's hurting me, would you try to stop it, right? He's receiving the topic sentence, I think, of toxic masculine club behavior, go. Edmund, do you participate in that? And he's saying no. But I don't think that's really what she's asking. I think that's what he's responding to.
Ooh, that I'm the best. I mean, I want to know, like, that I'm, like, special. Like, not just any guy, or, like, I want to know, like, I'm special.
Okay, boo then.
All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself, because you deserve it. You really, really do.